Welcome to the BFB Podcast. It is me, your host, Brock Myers, and my co-host, Connor Adams. This podcast is just going to be kind of discussing everything ins and outs of college baseball over the season and just baseball in general. When it gets to the World Baseball Classic, we'll cover that a good amount. We just want to put out a college baseball podcast that is fun, entertaining, and kind of everything you'd be looking for that the other ones don't give you. All right, so the first thing we're really going to talk about here today is the picks for this weekend. The first pick we're going to have is going to be the college baseball showdown. We got Arkansas, Vandy, Missouri, Oklahoma State, Texas, and TCU. We got Oklahoma State, Arkansas is going to be unbelievable with the matchup back from the Super Regional last year. Oh, yeah. You know, there's going to be some electricity there. Vandy, Texas, Missouri, TCU, like this is just gonna be a good weekend. What are your thoughts? Yeah, I think it's gonna be pretty good. It's a great way to open up the season. Just a nice, solid SEC Big 12 matchup there. I think a lot of competitive teams in this, which I think is honestly what more can you ask for in the beginning of the year? There's not a whole lot of competitive matchups all over the country, but here, I think it's going to be probably the best slated games in the country for week one. Personally speaking, I think, Missouri's probably the weakest team in the six that are here, but I think it's going to be a tough one between the Big 12 and the SEC. I think the Big 12 could easily end up winning the weekend over the SEC. Yeah, I mean, well, 3 Big 12 powerhouses. Yeah, it's gonna be a very competitive weekend, and honestly, I'm looking forward to a couple games. Yeah, you got Arkansas and Missouri, Vandy. Vandy and Arkansas always really good. We know that. But yeah, what's Missouri really gonna bring to the table? Yeah, I was kind of wondering the same thing. I mean, maybe someone knows something that we don't. Historically speaking, Missouri hasn't been necessarily the best in the SEC, but they're also not horrible, not terrible. But I'm kind of curious as to, when they scheduled it out, and when you had, those 5 teams and you were looking for another, how did they land on Missouri? Yeah, no. Maybe it's just, a switch around each year. They could be a sleeper. UT was in it last year. They're not in it this year. So, I mean, if it's anywhere as good as as good as it was last year, we're going to be in for some good games. Yeah. Then we got the MLB Desert Invitational. Tennessee, Arizona, Grand Canyon, San Diego. Yeah, so I think this one's going to be an interesting weekend out in Arizona, just because I think there's going to be one upset game that we're not thinking of. I think Arizona-Tennessee game, that's going to be a great one. You obviously have Tennessee's really good pitching staff, a bunch of transfers that are going to make an impact right away. I love it's going to be them or Arizona that gets knocked off, but Grand Canyon, great program out there. Very, very good. Very solid. They have, a Golden Spikes kind of, finalist. Yeah, and he's the number 4 player and, number 1 shortstop in the country. Yeah, so I think he's going to do something. Grand Canyon's always got good guys. It seems like they put money into that program left and right. UC San Diego, don't know how they really got in there. Again, it's kind of like the Missouri of the college baseball. I guess just because, MLB Desert. Yeah, I mean, it's hot, it's sweaty, San Diego can get over there. Yeah, but hey, I'm telling you, this weekend there's going to be one upset game in that tournament. And then so we have 5 other series that we kind of want to cover this week. It's going to be Southern Miss and Liberty, Campbell and Rutgers, Texas Tech and Gonzaga, College Charleston, Virginia Tech, and Charlotte Ball State. Yeah, so we can start the discussion with Southern Miss and Southern Miss and Liberty might be. It's going to easily be the best series of the weekend. Talent. I think, without a doubt, if we're talking about just 2 teams playing each other, not like a tournament, that is without a doubt the best weekend series in the country. 100%. I mean, Southern Miss always going to be really, really good. Liberty, really, really good. They got Garrett Horn throwing the lefty versus Tanner Hall for Southern Miss. I mean, that Friday game, you can't beat that to start the year. No, you can't. I think that's going to be probably, except for the tournaments, they're going to have some good games, but I think that's going to be one of the premier matchups Friday, for the Friday games. I do think it's going to be very interesting because Liberty lost a couple of their hitters. Obviously, when you're bringing out a lefty who's 98, up to 98 at least. Mid 90s lefty against a preseason All-American in Tanner Hall. I think that's gonna be really good. Southern Miss lost a couple guys though from their super regional team. They got some transfers in. I've heard they have some good freshmen, but I think it'll be pretty competitive.
Yeah. What all do you know about Garrett Horn? Tell us about him.
I mean, really, 6'2", lefty, and maybe 200 pounds.
Not a beefy boy.
Not a beefy boy. Not a beefy boy at all. I think he's just gonna beat you with raw power. Yeah, I mean, when it's mid 90s from the left side, it's gonna get on you quick, especially in the opening weekend. I mean, from what you and I've experienced, the hitting's a little bit down opening weekend.
Yeah, that's always a better pitching in the opening weekend.
Yeah, so I think when you're running him out there in any situation against any team, it's gonna be tough for them to beat him. Honestly, I think it's who's gonna get to the bullpen first, because I really think you're gonna see the best bullpen arms on Friday in that series.
I 100% agree. So next we have Campbell and Rutgers.
Yeah,
Campbell always nasty in the Big South, not a good conference, but always just running through that conference and making something happen in the regionals.
Yeah, I think this is another shockingly good matchup, because you have Campbell, who last year, everyone knows what Campbell did. I mean, they played Tennessee close, in the Tennessee Regional, but Rutgers is one of those sleeper teams that if you're not a huge fan of college baseball, you don't really understand how good they were last year.
Yeah.
And they brought back a good amount of guys. I think that's going to be a key. Their Friday night guys obviously going to be pretty good, but I mean, Campbell's Friday night guys is going to be electric.
It's just, you know what you're getting from Campbell's Friday night.
Yeah, it's 111 strikeouts in 94 innings. I mean, he's going to punch some guys out. Their lineup's incredible. I'm kind of curious, though, to see what's going to happen with the Saturday-Sunday games, because, Rutgers is a little bit bigger of a program. So, maybe they have more depth, but I don't know, because Campbell obviously was loaded last year. They're going to be loaded again this year. I just think it's going to be ultra competitive.
Yeah, 100%. I think it'll be a really good weekend.
Yeah.
Next, we got Texas Tech, Gonzaga.
Yeah. So, I mean, that one I think is just two bigger schools that did well last year.
Yeah, they're not something good last year. Good series this weekend.
I think it might be pretty cold in Lubbock, Texas.
Yeah. I think everything Friday and Saturday pretty much going to be cold.
Yeah, all over the country. But again, I don't know. Gonzaga was just a solid program last year. They got upset by Columbia in the regional, who actually beat the crap out of them.
I know. I expected Gonzaga to kind of make something happen.
I know they obviously have good arms, good hitting.
Yeah,
I just think it's a 4-game series.
They're a typical West Coast team.
They are. They are
pitching stacked, hitting tougher, questionable.
Yeah, I mean, I also don't really know. I know Texas Tech lost some guys too. They're probably bringing back new roster. I'm excited to see what they'll do. So it's a 4-game series, so I think it'll be good either way.
Yeah, I think it'll be good. Next we have College of Charleston versus Virginia Tech.
Yeah, now this one's in Charleston, so speaking from experience, it's a short ballpark.
Ball flies.
Yeah, the ball flies there. So I think Virginia Tech will probably have the upper hand on that, but College of Charleston has good pitching. They're returning one of their starters who's really good. They obviously have the reliever of the year. I think that'll be pretty good. Virginia Tech's solid. We all saw what they did last year, but they lost a lot of pieces from the team. They definitely returned a couple, but I just think it'll be a solid weekend. I mean,
and I think it's one of Holbrook's first few years that he's really had his full recruiting class in through and through. Yeah, so I think we're kind of excited to see what College of Charleston has. Having the pitcher of the year be a reliever just blows my mind, but
I mean, we've seen what he did last
year. Yeah. I mean, everybody knows. Yeah, he dominated, but
did he play against us?
Yeah, he threw against us.
Oh, I don't remember. Was he good?
Right. He was okay. He didn't crazy. Was he the dude with a really good pickoff move?
Amy.
I think he was. So next we got Charlotte, Ball State for our mid-major matchup of the weekend.
Yeah. So this one I'm actually really excited for. Just personally speaking, Charlotte's always been a good program.
Yeah.
I think that's
the past few years.
Yeah, I think they had a little bit of a down year last year, but they got some transfers in that I'm kind of curious to see how they are. Ball State, preseason MAC team projected to win it. I think that series is gonna be good. It's like, again, it's a four game weekend series, so I think that's where you kind of have to give Charlotte like a little bit of the upper hand because they have the depth, probably, I would assume, more so than Ball State does. But I really want to see how the MAC kind of matches up against teams, because they're always that one conference that has like really good teams that can make a run in a regional. Like Central Michigan's done it in years, like Kent, obviously, in the past, and not recently, but in the past has been really good. So I'm just kind of curious to see how Ball State's going to match up against another mid-major like power.
Yeah, Coach Maloney's always going to have the boys. Always going to have the boys ready to play.
Now you got Maloney squared pretty much, the dad and the son. So I'm sure they're going to come out with energy. If I know Maloney, they're going to come out with some energy and
get their pregame, watch the assistant coach hit ground balls at the kids, and you will have the best time of your life. All right, so now we're going to get into the picks. So, and that was for the college baseball showdown. We'll go SEC versus Big 12.
All right. I'm personally going to pick the Big 12 here. I think you're just going to have 3 very good Big 12 teams. Now, sure, Texas lost a couple of people. TCU did too. I think they're all really good, and especially with Missouri on the other side, I feel like it's going to be close, but I think the Big 12 will end up taking it.
I agree. I'm also going to go Big 12. I just think the 3 teams from Big 12 are too overpowering for Missouri. I think Vandy and Arkansas could both have really good weekends, but I think that Missouri is kind of going to hold them down. Might get swept.
Yeah.
All right, MLB Desert Invitational. What was your pick?
Tennessee. I have to. Just playing them the past couple years.
Yeah,
the 2 chases.
You get the 2 chases. They're gonna make something happen Friday, Saturday, and then Drew Beane's not too bad to have on Sunday.
No. I'm sure especially since you have what's his name's brother.
Oh yeah, Ben Joyce's brother.
Yeah, once you have Ben Joyce's brother, I'm sure he's doing fine over there. They got him on
back to 100 again. But yeah, I mean, Chase Burns is my hero. So
yeah, I think it's safe to say that I'm gonna pick UC San Diego last.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
they're gonna get smacked. So next we got Southern Miss Liberty.
Yeah, you got here. I'm gonna go crazy out on a limb here. I'm gonna go Liberty. I am gonna go Liberty, and the whole reason on it is I think that they're gonna sneak out the Friday game. Obviously you're gonna have a packed crowd at Southern Miss's field. Packed crowd. I've heard they've already sold out of season tickets apparently, but packed crowd. I think when you got 98 on the mound opening day in cold weather, that's gonna be a little tough to hit off of. I think it's just going to be one of those things where, I mean, you've seen it before with Liberty. They play good teams, and they play up to their competition, and they play down to their competition.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to come out and shock some people. So, that's my pick.
I'm going to go opposite. I'm going to go Southern Miss, just a good program all around. Got some good transfers, came in, good freshmen. Coach always has them coached up. I think they're going to be good again this year.
Yeah, I'm sure they will.
Campbell Ruggers.
I'm going to go Campbell. I'm going to go Campbell just because of the year that they had last year and the people that they're returning this year. I think 100%. The lineup that they have coming back, the pitching staff that they have coming back, they're all very good. They have experience. They're at home. Rutgers is on the road, so it's always tough to play on the road.
Yeah.
Even though Rutgers is a great program, that's nothing against you. I think it's going to be a good one. I think Rutgers has a lot of talent on like the offensive side.
Yeah.
I just think, playing at Campbell on the road week 1 is going to be tough.
Yeah, you're not taking down a big Campbell that week.
No,
you're not taking down.
Can't take down the Campbell.
Yeah, Campbell, I think they're just too good of a program.
Yeah.
I mean, year in, year out, they're winning the Big South and really not getting contested. Might get some contestants. Might get contested by.
Maybe. I mean, they're like USC Asheville. That would be far-fetched. They're not bad.
I saw them there.
You think?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but City Upstate's not bad, but
Campbell's gonna win conference. But
it's crazy that USC Upstate had votes from coaches to be first.
Yeah,
in my opinion. Now, maybe USC Upstate, their own coach voted for them. Good for that. Good for them. Having some confidence, but there was other coaches that voted.
I feel like you shouldn't be allowed to vote for yourself.
You would think, but I feel like that will kind of have to, right?
Yeah, I guess so. Okay, next one we'll go College Charleston, Virginia Tech.
I'm gonna go Virginia Tech. I'm gonna go Virginia Tech. That's just because of what they did last year. I mean, they were easily a
top 10 team last year.
Good returners.
Yeah. Good return.
Nothing crazy, but solid.
Yeah. I don't think College of Charleston has the offense to do it. I think they have some good pitchers, but I think at the end of the day, like, especially when I said earlier, the ball kind of carries there. Maybe it's dead this weekend because it's a little bit colder, but I still think they're going to
Probably
hit it at a cold in Charleston. Maybe not. Yeah, you're probably right. I feel like it's always good weather. Probably going to be like 55.
all right. Texas Tech, Gonzaga.
I don't know. I am going to say Texas Tech because they're the Big 12 team. I don't know, though.
No.
I think both teams have a lot to prove this year, at least to open up the year. I do think both of them are going to be good by the end of the year, but it doesn't really tell us like a good preview of where they're kind of at.
Yeah, I know Gonzaga, they had the really good arms last year, but I think they lost a good amount of them.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go Texas Tech as well.
Okay.
Then we got our mid-major matchup, Charlotte versus Ball State.
I could easily see this one going 2-2.
Yeah.
But
Was it a 4-game?
it's a 4-game. I could easily see it going 2-2.
Please ban 4-game series.
Yeah, those are awful. I'm going to go Charlotte if I had to pick, just because Charlotte is at home and it's a bigger school. So typically, not always, bigger schools have more depth than mid-majors. Especially in a 4-game series, that's going to be big. So I'm going to go Charlotte.
Yeah, I know Charlotte's got some really good arms, so
Yeah.
I'm going to go Charlotte as well. All right. Next thing we're going to head into, next segment, we're going to talk about kind of what the best atmospheres in college baseball are. We're both going to give our top 3, and then I think we're going to narrow it down to, kind of the best atmosphere. We're going to tell you some atmospheres that just not going to make the cut, whether it's in a full conference or kind of whatever that is. All right. I'll start off with my top 3. I've got Ole Miss, Mississippi State, and ECU. So I know we got 2. I know we got 2 in the same state, but the beer shower and the cowbells, you really can't beat it. ECU got that mid-major vibe to them, but at the same time, like, they pack that thing out. It ain't a mid-major crowd.
No, definitely not.
Ole Miss, I'm telling you, the most intimidating thing I've ever seen in the regional was when they hit a home run in the beer shower. Like, you see it online, but you can't comprehend how intimidating that is in real life.
Yeah, I'm sure. Wish I was there, but Summer Mall, Summer Park.
You're there in spirit.
Yeah, sure.
All right, they give me your 3.
So I'm gonna go with Tennessee. I'm gonna go with Texas A&M.
Bubbles.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with LSU. And the reason why I'm gonna go with LSU this year is because of the team they have this year.
Yeah, I mean, Alex Bach's going to be jumping.
I think this year's gonna be a special year for them. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, I think LSU will be really good. All right. So we didn't have any of the same ones.
No.
Balls. Okay, so let's do some debate.
All right. Well, out of mine, I mean, obviously I'm gonna pick Tennessee because, again, everyone knows it. The Drew Gilbert home run.
Yeah.
That, I mean, I don't know. He might have hit that 500 feet. I don't know. It probably hasn't landed. It's probably in Wright State's parking lot right now. But, yeah, that home run was like the epitome of a college baseball player's dream. And to see that place like erupt,
Yeah.
I mean, just because, going to Tennessee Tech, you know a bunch of people that are at Tennessee and people that went to the game. You see it on their like Instagram stories or Snapchat stories, and the place is going wild. I think they're making some upgrades to the field.
Yep.
Hilton Tony via Palace. Yeah, I mean he's gonna get whatever he wants there. They're throwing money left and right at sports right now. They're on the peak of Tennessee sports right now.
Well, I don't think as a Tennessee sports fan you could ask for anything more than what you had this past year.
Yeah, it's crazy. So I think I'm gonna put Tennessee in there just because where they're heading right now, and then kind of the year that they had last year. I think it's gonna be electric.
Yeah, I mean, it's so weird because Tennessee, like, when we first started playing them, say our freshman year, like, the crowd was never anything special, non-existent. Really, you were never too worried about going there and having any intimidation from the crowd. But I would say the past 2 years, it's when it's really kind of switched up.
Oh yeah,
It was right after that Vandy game, that Vandy weekend 2 years ago, where They were close. They won 1 and 3, but Vandy still got them. And that midweek game was packed out, $150 tickets. So, I mean, that just shows you how passionate these fans are about it.
Yeah.
I would say if I was going to go one from my list, I'd probably go Mississippi State.
Yeah, I mean, you can't go.
It's just because I think, holds the most people, always packed down. You got the left field lounge, you got the cowbells.
Yeah.
It's tough. Because you got the apartments back there, too. Oh,
I mean, when you're getting, like, freaking 10,000 people a game, it seems like.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it's 10,000, maybe, like, 6,000. But when you're getting that many people a game, every game, it's gonna be electric. Now, sure, they might not be getting into it as much as, like, Tennessee fans. I feel like they're just screaming at you.
Yeah.
You got Texas A&M fans with chants. But again, I think with Texas A&M, the little dynamic of, like, I think in, like, a midweek game, you're not going to get that same electric atmosphere as you might get somewhere else.
Yeah.
I think when it's, like, a super regional, dude, that place might be the coolest place to play in the super regional. I mean, with their ball chant and everything, I wish I could play. I've heard a story of a kid at Stanford pitching there, and the ground was shaking as he was pitching because they were all, like, yelling in a super regional. So I think that would be sweet. But at Mississippi State, I mean, you can't beat it when every single game you're getting 5,000 people.
Yeah. I would say the thing with Tennessee is, my only knock with Tennessee is that Tennessee fans are probably the most fair weather fans in the country, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think kind of like to add to that, they definitely are going to hype themselves up.
Yep, they ride the hell.
I mean, obviously right now, that's not knocking anyone because right now they're unbelievable.
Yeah.
They have a great team. I do think that this year especially, their atmosphere is going to be unbelievable.
Yeah,
No,
100% agree.
So, yeah, that is probably the one knock. And their stadium could be a little bit bigger. If they had an upgrade, it'd be pretty sick.
So I think we go Mississippi State.
Yeah.
Best atmosphere in college baseball.
Yeah.
All right. So we go from best atmospheres. Every year, you have one award. It's the Heisman for college baseball. It's the Golden Spikes Award. And, I mean, we've put together a few options here. Obviously, you got Dylan Cruz, Tommy White, Vance Honeycutt, Chase Dolan or Chase Burns. I threw in little Enrique Bradfield. I don't know about that one.
It was electric.
He is electric.
Hey, 8 home runs last year.
Yeah, the numbers were popping last year. Always going to steal some bags. Always going to do what he needs to do. But, yeah. I mean, I think it'll be an interesting year. I don't see any. I mean, obviously, Cruz is probably the front runner right now, but I think any of these guys could win it.
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing here is if you look at that duo between Cruz and Tommy White,
yeah,
that's unbelievable. I would feel like you have to go with one of them. I mean, I get like the whole Vance Honeycutt thing, but I mean, you hit like 280 or like 290 maybe. So, I mean, great numbers, 25 home runs. But if you look at what Cruz and Tommy White were doing, I mean, they both hit 350 plus.
Yeah.
With the same amount of home runs. I mean, Tommy White had what, 80 RBIs plus, and I mean, Dylan Cruz is arguably, he has to have a pretty bad year to not be like 1-1 or close to 1-1. So I think, for me personally, I would probably lean more in one of their directions, but obviously everyone that you just named is electric in their own way. They're all great. They're all going to dominate college baseball this year. So
I know, when I'm looking at it, I think more thing about it, a lot of times there's kind of a sophomore slump.
Yeah.
Where people are kind of getting used to you, can look at your synergies, see what what you hit and what you don't hit. And I would think that'll probably happen a little bit to Vance Honeycutt and Tommy White this year. But, I mean, obviously excited to see that. I think White will probably have a little bit of a better year just because he'll probably be protecting Cruz, if I had to guess.
Yeah.
And so Cruz is probably going to get fed strikes a lot of the time because they don't want to have him on while Tommy White's on deck. But yeah, I think it'll be good. I mean, the two arms, both the chases from USC, obviously going to probably dominate this year.
Yeah, I do think it's going to be tough for an SEC pitcher, in my opinion, to win the Golden Spikes.
Yeah.
Just because you're in the SEC, you're going to face,
You've had some bad games. games from.
You are, and it's bound to happen. I mean, come on, we know from playing, you're not going to be on every single game. Even though they both have electric stuff, you're still, I mean, every team in the SEC, they have at least one guy on their team that's a stud, like a stud day in, day out. Now, they might have their bad games, but I mean, even if it's like 75% good games and bad games, that stud's going to be good. And not to mention, every kid on that SEC roster can hit a ball out pretty much.
Yeah.
For the most part. They all can match. They can all run into one.
Yeah.
I mean, you throw 97 down the plate to even like a 6-hole guy in the SEC. I mean, he could crush it out.
Yeah, I mean, I think Tennessee showed that last year.
Yeah,
Honestly.
yeah. So I'm gonna go with the hitter, but
Yeah, I like that. I think I'm going to go Dylan Cruz.
you're gonna go Dylan Cruz. I'm gonna go Tommy White. I am gonna go Tommy White. I think
Bold statement.
it is a bold statement, but I think since hear me out. I don't know where Paul Skeens is gonna be hitting in their lineup.
Yeah.
But if he's in between the two, that you can't pitch around him, especially with Dylan Cruz on. Like you're not gonna unless Dylan Cruz hit the double.
Yeah.
Then I guess you pick we're gonna walk him. But still, the on base percentage there is gonna be crazy. I think that with the amount of talent they have, I don't think teams are gonna be able to afford to pitch around him. So I think they're gonna pitch to him. I think he has raw power, in the box. Like I think it's gonna be rocking for him. He's obviously gonna hit like one not over the scoreboard, but he hit the scoreboard something.
Yeah.
And that place is gonna go crazy. I think they're gonna love him down there in Baton Rouge.
Oh, yeah.
He's gonna be a great addition to their team.
2 Florida guys too. I mean, and we're the NFL LSU and not Florida, no.
Dude, Florida's got a ton of talent too.
I know. Oh Lord.
All right, so
Your pick, Dylan Cruz,
or
Tommy White.
Tommy White.
All right. Next thing we got these conference rankings. You might get mad at it. You might hate it. You might disagree with it. But to be honest, we really don't care. Obviously, I mean, this is as obvious as it gets. We're going to post them right here. But the SEC is number 1. ACC number 2. Big 12 number 3. We got the Sun Belt at number 4. I think they just have they might have some worse teams in the Pac-12, but I think they have better teams overall in the Pac-12.
Yeah.
I think just getting Southern Miss.
Southern Miss was in the Sun Belt.
What was that?
Sun Belt. No, I know, but you said getting Southern Miss.
Yeah. Oh, I don't have had a Southern Miss.
They got Old Dominion.
Did it someone else?
Yeah, they added someone.
So we got Pac-12 5, Conference USA at 6, Big 10 at 7, which we're kind of questionable on, debatable. The American at 8, Big West at 9, and the A-Sun at 10.
Yeah.
And so, just kind of tell us why. You've done all the conference previews. Tell us why the SEC is.
I mean, it's by far the best conference. I think that there's no doubt about it. I think that one of the funny things you look at, if you look at like their previews anywhere, if you look at any conference preview, if you go on like Perfect Game, you go on D1, you look at ours even, there's going to be guys that you look at like other conferences and you might be like, okay, well, if you look at their numbers from last year, their numbers aren't unbelievable. But the one thing I notice about the SEC, which is crazy because you're playing SEC pitchers every weekend, is the fact that like there's guys that weren't on the list that are incredible. Like you probably have a guy on the list that's gonna be like a top 5 rounder, and they're not on the list, and it's just because of the talent level that the SEC produces. I think that's just one of the things that kind of stands out above the rest.
Yeah,
you look at the top. You know how hard it is to make the top 5 pitchers in the SEC, like returning pitchers. It's impossible. There's guys like that are throwing 99, 100 that aren't even thought of.
not even close.
They're not even thought of as a top 5 because there's just so many good guys. I mean, you run out every Friday night guy in the SEC is a legit arm, a legit arm that's gonna have a good career in the minors at least. So to me, just the depth of talent is what makes them stand out so far from like the ACC. They're good, don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
great conference. The SEC is just different.
SEC's just got a little bit more.
Yeah. It's like if you were to take the top 10 guys in the ACC and throw them in the SEC, they would all be good. They would all be very good. They'd all be very successful. But I think it's when you get to like guy like 50 in the ranking.
Yeah.
The SEC is going to have a stud.
Yeah.
And guy 50 might hit 3-hole on Boston College. But Boston College is like, or the ACC's 50th guy isn't going to hit 3-hole anywhere in the SEC. So I think that's the difference.
Yeah, I would say so. I would say it's probably
Depth. And everybody's always talking. SEC is power pitching, power hitting. For the most part, ACC is kind of just a little bit softer with the exception of like a few teams. I mean, you've always got Louisville and North Carolina that are going to be really Virginia years always about. But as far as full conference, I mean, the SEC has won probably like 7 out of the last 10.
Yeah.
Not serious, so I don't see how you can really argue.
Yeah, when you're looking at like our rankings and you see Kentucky last, and you put that up against Boston College last. If I were to put them in a series, I'm going to take Kentucky in that series. Now, sure, like, I don't know. But when you get to like even like 8 in our rankings is Auburn for the SEC. Unbelievable. Like, I think they're a really good
World Series team last year.
They have some great arms. They have returners like hitting that are going to be really good for them. They had a really good year last year, but that's the 8 team.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think our 8 team's Notre Dame, which again, sure, everyone's going to maybe say like, oh, weren't they a College World Series team? But they lost.
They lost almost everybody.
And they lost their head coach to another ACC school. So if you're going to put me in a series of Notre Dame and Auburn right now to start off the year,
Picking Auburn.
Yeah, you're going to pick Auburn. So it's different.
Yeah. I mean, and then obviously glaring at us is number 7, the Big Ten. So let's talk some Big Ten baseball. Why are we thinking it's at 7?
I mean, I think it might be at like 8 or 9.
Just because of they don't have the depth. They don't. I mean, you look at the end. I mean, you get to like Northwestern. Now, sure, you might argue to yourself like the American is Cincinnati.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, I guess Cincinnati wasn't bad.
He's not terrible.
They've had some really good arms. I've known a couple kids that have been at Cincinnati that have been really, really good.
Yeah.
So not knocking them at all. They're not a bad program, but the American, I think why they should have been in front of the Big Ten is just because I think their top teams are pretty good. Even though in the Big Ten, you're going to have some really good teams. Maryland, Rutgers is good. Illinois, surprisingly, is pretty good. They have a lot of returners. I think they can make some noise. They actually play Southern Miss in the second week. But they can be pretty good. But just like there was a lot of teams that underperformed last year in the Big Ten. Like Iowa was pretty good last year, but Iowa lost to a D3 school in a big win about that. Yeah, so that was kind of shocking. But they have
Probably good for a point later.
No, but hear me out. They probably didn't use any of their good arms, and probably just some
Baseball's baseball.
Yeah, but like Indiana and Nebraska last year, they had bad years.
Yeah.
So
Indiana is normally a team that is probably one of the better programs.
Yeah, I mean they open up against Auburn week 1 at Auburn, so that'll be a good one. But I think that Indiana's kind of in a redemption year.
Yeah.
Same with Nebraska. I mean, Nebraska's been pretty good the past couple of years, and they had a bad year last year. So I just think if you get down into 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 in the Big Ten, it's just not as competitive. You can't put them up there with like even like the Sun Belt or something like that. Because the Sun Belt, Sun
Belt's loaded.
Yeah, they have some good teams, but I think personally, there's not going to. And the American has ECU.
Yeah, let's say I don't think there's anybody in the Big Ten that is as good as ECU.
No, maybe Maryland. Maryland's got a good team this year, but again, if you're looking at it, you're going to go with USF, who made a run in a regional, I think, 2 years ago, as they were actually the 8th seed.
It's crazy.
And they made a run in a regional in Gainesville. I think they beat Florida to actually eliminate them. So I think if you're looking at it, did they win the regional? I don't remember. But when you have a team like that, preseason 6th, and you're putting that up against,
there's just no bad teams in the American.
Not looking at it like, no.
Like Memphis, we have an 8, but Memphis is not going to be terrible. They're always going to be decent. I mean, they always get decent guys.
Always have a decent
kind of roster.
Yeah, just like the Big Ten.
Just
you have your really good teams. Don't get me wrong. But obviously Michigan made it to the College World Series like final like 3 years ago. But I just don't think overall, if you're thinking of a conference as a whole, like year in, year out, competitive wise, you might get the top 4 teams in the Big Ten to be really good. I think after that, there's a drop off, where in the American, there's not as much of a drop off.
I mean, it's kind of always like this, but places that are warmer are typically going to have better teams.
Yeah. So better talent going.
Having Carolina, Texas, Florida.
Wichita State's pretty cold.
Yeah.
So Wichita State and Cincinnati.
The only ones that are pretty cold, but.
Okay, now we're into our segment called Talking Ball. Connor, we're just talking about anything on our mind here. I know you had something that kind of been poking at you. Let me know what it is.
Yeah, so I think what's been poking at me is this season kind of compared to last season, and I'm not talking about like from the college baseball perspective, just like where the NCAA and baseball is going. I'm talking about like from my own personal perspective, and I think from you too as well, where, you know, we played last year, just got done, you know, with the grueling 5 seasons, you know, roller coaster of a career, and, you know, now we're transitioning from being a player to being a spectator, and I think that's kind of been itching at me, because I think back to last year around this time where I was so excited. You know, we had the bus trip. Actually, it was probably like last year at this time. They were going down to.
They're probably practicing right now.
Yeah, going out to South Alabama, and me being told that he pitched like that the rest of the year, like him. And so I think it's been itching at me, because now I can actually look at it from a perspective of a person that can kind of root for multiple teams. You know, can go to different games, can, you know, see things with kind of a more, you know, free-spirited mindset. Instead of last year, it was more like, okay, you know, we need to beat this team. I need to focus on who my opponent is. I can't really care about however anyone else is doing in the country. Sure, I had some friends I was rooting for, but other than that, you're kind of like, oh, screw every other team.
Yeah,
it's my team that I'm on. And, you know, now obviously I'm still going to root for Tennessee Tech, but, you know, I'm still going to be looking out for other teams. I'm going to be paying attention to other teams more so than last year, and I think it'll be kind of cool.
Yeah, and I think when you're playing, you kind of, for me at least, I would think that everybody else was worse than us. Even we could have the worst fall, worst thing ever. Jason Kelsey was talking about it the other day. I heard them on their podcast, and I was like, you always think you have the best team going into the year, because you have to. If you don't think like that, like you're a loser. You know, like, and this year it's nice to be able to see, and kind of from a spectator view, non-biased, kind of who we think is going to be good, and just see how the season plays out. Be able to watch games all the time, not really miss anything that happens that's big, but, you know, staying in it.
Yeah, I think what kind of add on that is, like, you're not going to have any of those, like, Sunday night drives where you're just driving home and you're just thinking to yourself, like, that sucked.
Yeah.
Like, that sucked. Like, I remember last year when we were driving back from UT Martin, I was like, this is the end. Like, this is horrible.
Yeah.
I mean, we lost a series at Martin on the road. You're driving back from Martin, Tennessee.
Worst place.
I mean, there's just no worse feeling. And I think that now being able to be like a Sunday, the team that we root for might not do well, and you're just like, who cares, you know? More content to put out anyway. So, you know, it doesn't really matter. So I think that'll be the biggest difference to me, and I'm kind of excited to see that switch.
Yeah, I think that'll be a good switch. I mean, it's going to be nice. No pressure on us, which is very nice. Well, I can now sit here and say, oh, that kid sucks, you know, but I don't have to play. I don't have to back it up anymore.
Yeah.
So that's the best part about this. I can say whatever I want, and you can't do anything about it. Coming with that, say whatever I want.
Okay.
I keep seeing, it's the second time I've seen it, different podcast. I keep seeing people say that D2 and D3 teams would beat mid-major teams.
They have some NAIs, people.
Yeah. And however, they might win a game, but if you put these teams in a series, it's not going to be close. D1 teams are bigger, faster, stronger, and more athletic than D2, D3, NAIA teams. And I'm just so sick of seeing that. And if you think that, you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I think, you know, there's obviously, like, weird situations where you have, like, your really good D2 teams that obviously are going to play in D1. Like, you know, you look at it, like, Tampa's got a bunch of talent.
Yeah.
You know, you look at that every year. You know, Angelo State's always pretty good in Texas. But you kind of look at it from that perspective and you think to yourself, okay, well then what is number 25 like in D2 baseball? So I think that's what's really the difference maker. If you're going to say, okay, well, in D2, if you're going to say that, if you're going to go out there and say, hey, D2 teams can go and like run the house against like a mid-major team, or even a below average mid-major team, it's like, then I don't think you really understand like what mid-major baseball is all about, because even if you're like, okay, well, D2 like this, D2 that, like good D2 teams, you kind of have to think about it and say, all right, well, that D2 team you're talking about is number 10 in the country. Can they hold their own in a mid-major baseball conference? Yeah, probably. I mean, they might be like a decent team in like the OVC, or they might be a decent team in a certain conference. But if you're gonna argue that team that's like 7th in the country in D2 is gonna go to Auburn and stand a chance, you have got to be kidding me. And like look at it from last year. Last year, our Tennessee Tech team, we didn't have an unbelievable year. We started off the year hot, started off the year incredible. But we went into the Smoky Stadium, beat the number 1 team in the country, who people at the time were saying this is the best team ever to play college baseball. I mean, they were 31-1.
Yeah,
we beat them. Yeah. And it's like, okay, well then go in a midweek game and take, I don't know, like go in a midweek game and take Tiffin University in Ohio and go play Tennessee and see what happens. I think that's just like a ridiculous statement. Even if you take like a good school, I think there's like some of the Colorado schools are pretty good at baseball. I think like Colorado School of Mines is pretty decent. There's Pueblo.
Yeah, and I think part of the reason you see it is like the teams that dominate, they're also not facing the caliber teams that even like the not as good mid-majors are facing. So something that is absolutely blowing another D2 team up is not going to blow up another mid-major.
Yeah. I think, even if you... Exactly. And then you take like Mesa, Angelo State. I mean, I guess Tampa might have a shot. But like you take like some of those teams who are historically always a top 10 team in D2, and you put them in a midweek game against Tennessee, I don't know if they put up as good of a game. Delta State, for example, like I don't think they go into a 7,000 person crowd with all Tennessee gear on, and they win that game. I think it's just different. A lot of people don't necessarily understand the differences. I'm not knocking on D2.
I was just about to say that. I'm not knocking on D2. D2, there's some really, really good players. Even a bunch of big leaguers from D2, D3, and AIA. So that's not what we're saying. But we think you should think about what you're saying and experience what you're saying before you actually say it.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what it's like. Especially if you're one of these kids that's going to a D2 and you just want to say a D2 is better because you're going to a good D2.
Yeah. It's kind of like, if you're going to say that, then it's like, did you have offers to go play like D1 baseball and you just chose D2? Because if that's the case, more power to you. Like, I mean, I do think at the end of the day, like, if you have the opportunity to go D1 at like a low level D1 or a good D2 team, I would probably go D2. You're gonna get some playing time. You're gonna do that. But if you're someone that's gonna say, hey, D3, D2 is better than D1, and you don't have like an offer going D1 or something, it might be kind of up in the air then.
And funding. I would say funding is also a huge part of it.
Yeah.
So these D2 programs don't have the facilities. They don't have the staff that can compete with most D1.
Yeah. Again, I'm going to reiterate, there are some D2 teams that are good and can compete at the D1 level in like mid-major conferences. But as a whole, if you get outside the top 10 in D2, in my opinion, I think it's going to be trickling down a lot and not going to be able to compete. So, hey, more power to you. If you go to Tampa, if you go to like Angelo State, you go to Mesa, you go to any of those big powerhouse D2 schools, yes, you guys can play against some D1 schools. But if you're going to go to a random school that, no one's really heard of.
Yeah, and we're not even, I think the people have the big D2 and they say like, oh, they would like win these conferences. They would compete.
Yeah.
I don't think for the most part, that they would win most of these conferences. I think there's multiple teams better than the top D2 teams.
Yeah.
Especially knowing kids that are on certain D2 teams that are top 10 in the nation. Like, you know, okay, well, I've seen what that kid is like. And if you think that kid is going to push a team where he throws a lot,
yeah,
to win a championship in a Division I conference, then I just don't know how to save you at that point. Yeah, I mean, like Trevecca. Like, if you think Trevecca is going to beat a D1 team or compete, like,
in a conference
for a whole season, they made the D2 College World Series like 2 years ago. And not a shot. No, not a shot.
Dude, Trevecca would be like, dude, that's like saying like Southern Indiana and Lindenwood in the OVC are going to do something. Like, dude, those teams were like good in their conference. And they're like the bottom teams in the projections for this year in the OVC.
I know.
And it's like, dude, Southern Indiana won the D2 Divisional Championship in 2010 and 2014. And look at this. They're like projected like 7th in the OVC.
Yeah, I mean, just look at what UNA's done.
Were they good in D2?
Yeah, they're decent. Yeah, and they decent, and then they're bad. They're bad.
Dude, remember last year when we'd be playing like Eastern Michigan and like IPFW or whatever school it was, and you're just like, if we lose a game, buddy, this is horrible. Good thing we didn't. But
yeah, and okay, that's probably gonna be it for today. In the future, if you want to send us in some questions, we'd love to answer questions. If you want to know kind of like our favorite places to play,
yeah,
best players we've played against, anything like that. I mean, Connor's played with a few big leaguers, so I can't really compete with that. But played the Little League World Series. I did play in the Little League World Series, so I'm definitely qualified to talk about baseball. But yeah, like, share, subscribe for us. It helps us out a lot. We're just starting. Hopefully, we can get some good guests on, interview some bigger names in the college baseball scene, and kind of grow the game in that way. And we want to really help out the mid-major guys.
Yeah, that's like one of the big things is this year we're gonna pretty much focus on all of college baseball, but we do want to put an emphasis on mid-major baseball. Being two mid-major guys, I went to Tennessee Tech blue collar. One of the big things is to put a spotlight kind of on those guys, since like the major publications like Perfect Game, D1, they're so focused on the big conferences, as they should, but the little guys, the mid-majors, deserve some respect too.
Yeah, 100%. All right. Thank you, guys. Yeah.